Hey Rachel, how you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I appreciate you taking my call. Look at you, all dressed up. Working from home?
Yep, as always.
Yeah, I'm in the kitchen. That's just how it is these days. Hey, listen, I've been thinking about my aunt and uncle, Mike and Sally. So they're getting older, they have no kids, and they're getting all the mail about approaching the Medicare age. They're seeing the TV ads, and I want to help them, but I just feel so lost. Should they enroll now? Is there a certain time that's better? What should they do?
Well, it all depends on what they're going to decide to do. Are they retiring or if they're going to continue to work? So these are some things that, when I meet with them, we'll go through all that. So I'll make sure that they're taken care of.
Right, I need to get them set up to meet with you. But what kinds of things should they be considering in advance?
Well, Medicare isn't free. So depending on the coverage they choose and the healthcare services that they're using, that's really where we're going to see what's going to be kind of the best fit and options available to them in the market. I'm independent, so I'm going to look at every option that is available to them. But we'll look at everything from cost, coverage, their healthcare history, prescription drugs. So there's quite a few things that we'll go in depth on to really find the best fit for them.
So that's an important distinction. Medicare isn't free. There are many things that need to be added on. So what should they do moving forward?
I would say, just having a review, because even if we're not going to make a decision today, at least we know when we need to, because there are certain decisions that are time sensitive. So just to be aware of that, of when we need to start, when we need to pull the trigger moving forward. And then once we do have them enrolled, just having that yearly review is really key when it comes to Medicare.
I got to get them in to see you. What about Social Security? Is that something that you do?
It's not, but I've got a great person to reach out to. So let me see if I can get them on the line here, okay?
Sure, go ahead.
Hey, Steve, are you there?
Rachel, I'm here. What can I do for you?
Hey, do you got a second here? I was just reaching out to you. I've got Robbie here on the line, and he's looking for some help with his aunt and uncle, and I thought you'd be a great resource for them.
Glad to help. How can I help?
I was just telling Rachel, they're getting the ads in the mail, seeing the TV commercials. Steve, when do you start taking the Social Security benefits?
That's a big question. There are so many options. You could take it as early as 62 and as late as 70. And if they're a husband and wife, they can take it at different times. So it's just actually running through and trying to figure out what works best for them. It's $1 million question.
It sounds like there's a variety of decisions to make, not just when.
Yeah, there are a lot of options to choose from. And it depends. The longer you can wait, the more benefit you can receive. Or if you want to take it earlier, then you'll have to take a haircut on some of the benefits. But we have the tools that can really help clients figure out what would be optimal for them.
Now, I know health is a factor, and they're okay now, but I'm thinking about long-term care. Is that a part of Social Security?
There is a small part of it, but there's always that concern. We're living longer. Modern medicine's allowing us to live longer, and more things are kind of breaking down as our life. So there becomes that concern of how do we take care if there is a long-term care need.
Are there triggers to look for when deciding about additional needs and costs we should be aware of?
There are. Usually if you need help with what they call activities of daily living or ADLs, and there's 6 of them, if you need help with 2 of them, like maybe help bathing or transferring from your bed to a chair or something like that, when you need help with at least 2 of them, there are benefits that you can access, either government benefits like Medicare and Medicaid, or private plans like long-term care insurance.
And what about costs?
Now the costs are different, as you mentioned. If you do a mid-range nursing home here in town, it's about $92,000 a year. Down the road, you might want to get a hold of a gentleman named Dave Holder, but right now that's what the cost is.
With all of these questions, I'm thinking about the house. It's a 3-story condo, lots of up and down. They got to think about relocating, and so much stuff in this house has to go before that can happen. Is there someone that we should talk to?
Oh, yes, you need to do that. You need to talk to my friend Susie Maley. She is fantastic in that area. Let me get her on the line real quick. Do you have time?
Yeah, sure.
All right, perfect. Hi, Susie. See here. I have Robbie on the phone, and he has questions for his aunt and uncle about moving, downsizing, and the like. Can you help him with that?
Hey, Susie, are you there?
Hey, I am here, Robbie. How can I help you?
Hey, I was just telling Steve about my aunt and uncle. They're getting into their 60s. They have a 3-story condo, and it's filled to the brim with stuff. What's the one thing I should know?
You know what, Robbie? A great question, because their stuff can paralyze them. So we got to get on that stuff immediately, because if we deal with it now, it's going to help in the long haul with the transition.
That makes sense. You know, it's hard for me to estimate how much this is going to be to do, and it's going to be emotional, like you say. How should we budget for help from an expert like you on this?
Excellent question. You know, it's hard for me to randomly put a number on it until I put my eyes on it. So I offer a free consultation. So I'd love to be invited and come up and do a look-see, and then I can give you an estimate.
Great. Now, if we do decide we want to sell the home, which is part of this process, who should we talk to?
I've got the best person, Kate MacGill. She's been a real estate broker with FC Tucker for 27 years. Let me get her on the line. Kate, I got Robbie on the line.
I'm here. Robbie, I hear you have some questions for me.
I do. It's my aunt and uncle in their condo. You know, they're getting older, and I'm not sure what their plans are. They might want to sell. And gosh, what makes selling at this phase of life different?
You know, selling when you're going into your golden years is a lot more complicated and difficult than if you're a first-time home seller or an investor or moving up. My recommendation is that you start the process early to give yourself the flexibility of making better choices.
How can I find a realtor who's really an expert in this area?
Great question. I would recommend that you find somebody that has a certification to work with seniors, a certification such as an SRES, a senior real estate specialist, and they are affiliated with NAR, National Association of Realtors.
If we do decide it's best for them to stay in their home, how do I find help for that? Who's the right person to talk to?
I have just the right person, Jean Ross. She's a home healthcare specialist. Would you like me to get her on the line for you?
That would be great.
Great. Hey, Jean, I have somebody I'd like you to talk to.
Hey, Jean. So think of my aunt and uncle. You know, they're doing okay now, but I've seen this before when people get older. How do we know that it's time to ask for professional help with their care and their daily lives?
Right. I mean, you know your aunt and uncle the best, right? And there's a reason that they ask you for help and come to you. And when you see that they're having a hard time navigating the health system, or their health seems to be getting worse at home, and they're not enjoying the things that they used to, I think it's a great time to kind of interject to understand, you know, what's important to them and how you can help.
When the time comes to get help, what does that help look like?
Help is, well, from being a nurse, we call it instrumental activities of daily living and activities of daily living. So there's these first things that happen where they may need help with finances and making those kind of decisions, with their taxes, with maybe helping with meals or running errands, getting to places. Maybe they're starting to struggle with medications and managing the different medications that are happening. And then you may even notice that sometimes they're having troubles with, moving about, struggling with their mobility, getting dressed. And those are, all of those things have a service or something that can help. And a lot of times family do this on their own, but there's a point where it becomes too much. And that's when you start looking for resources that could help support your aunt and uncle with those different activities.
Now, I'm sure that one option to consider is assisted living. Is that an area where you can help?
Yes, I can help. I've got a friend named Dave Holder.
Absolutely. I'd love to talk to him.
Yes, let me connect you. Dave?
Hey, Jane.
I have Robbie on the line here. He is kind of thinking through that big plan and thinking about assisted living. Could you answer some of his questions? Do you have a minute?
Absolutely. Hey, Robbie.
Hey, Dave. So it's probably a little bit away, but my aunt and uncle are getting older, and Jean said to talk to you. What exactly is it that you do?
Yeah, thanks, Robbie. I'm happy to help. Yeah, I think the easiest explanation is to think of me as like a senior living realtor. And like a realtor, I'm going to provide options for you. I'm going to streamline the process, and I know the local market, so I can help you with that. And of course, I've got resources to help you through the whole process as well.
You know, I've seen this before with friends and family, that people start this process way too late. When is the right time to have the conversation?
You know, the whole key to this is to be as proactive as possible. And that's what I love about my service is no cost. So you're not wasting my time. If it's a year from now or 6 months, what we want to do is make sure that the stress level and you can absorb all of this information to make a really educated and informed decision when you decide to make this transition. So it's never too early.
And what are the steps to work with you?
That's a great question. So there's actually 4 steps. And the first one is really what I call a personal assessment. And it's where we're going to really focus on the obvious, like you would working with a realtor: location, budget, you know, room size, that type of thing. But we really get down into asking those really pertinent questions with your family members, like what is the timeline? But also, are there other family members that might be decision makers that we need to bring to the table? We'll also talk about how important this is to your parents. Are they struggling with this? Or your aunt and uncle, excuse me, are they struggling with this? Do we need to have a conversation with them, and when to bring them in? And then of course, we're going to focus on what's important to them. Is it dining? Is it the safety? Is it the social activities? All of those things will start with the assessment. From that, I'll make recommendations that if you like those recommendations, that's the second step. We'll move to the third step where I'm still with you and we're still touring those properties, organizing all the notes, making sure you understand the cost, acting as your advocate. And then the final stage is the transition, the actual move-in, where I can be a part of that too for you. So 4 steps.
These sound like really important choices to make, but I'm concerned about all of the legal questions, especially, you know, as they get older with the possibility of having trouble making decisions. Is that something that you do?
Oh, no, I don't do that, but I definitely have a resource for you. It's Rebecca Geyer of Rebecca Geyer and Associates. Let me get her on the line for you, Robbie. Hey, Rebecca.
Hi, Dave. How are you today?
Hey, I'm great. Hey, I've got Robbie on the line and he needs some help with his aunt and uncle. Are you available?
Yes, I'd be happy to answer any questions he has.
Hey, I was just telling Dave, my aunt and uncle, are they going to be able to act on their own? Are there legal documents we should have in place? What should we be doing now?
I mean, that's a really good question. There's really 2 groups of things that I think you can do and assemble now in order to make sure that should the time come when you need to assist your aunt and uncle, you have what you need in place to do so. So the first thing I recommend is really not documents you have to prepare with an attorney, but practical things you can gather now to make sure you have what you need to assist them should the time come. So I would really think that it is appropriate for you to talk to your aunt and uncle and get things like copies of their health insurance cards, a list of the medications that they take, a list of any doctors that they see, important legal documents if they do have them together, especially those that name you to fill a role, perhaps a list of any assets they have, and sometimes that could just be account numbers. It doesn't have to have values with it, or important people that they turn to assist them, like the name of their attorney or their accountant or investment advisor. And one of the things that is really causing a lot of problems today is actually passwords. So to the extent they can keep an updated list of passwords so you can assist them with things, that is also really important.
That sounds really smart. So beyond contact lists and insurance cards, passwords, what else?
Yeah. Beyond that, though, if you really have to assist them one day, you are going to probably need some legal documents to give you the authority to assist them. And there's a couple of things you should really make sure your aunt and uncle have in place. The first is a power of attorney to make sure that you have the ability to handle financial transactions for them if you are ever in a position where you have to take over. A power of attorney gives you the authority to pay bills and handle finances. And the nice thing about it is it doesn't take away their authority to act for themselves now. It just makes sure you can step in and begin helping them should the time arise when you need it. It's also probably a good idea for you to have some healthcare documents in place for your aunt and uncle. I would definitely look into getting a medical power of attorney or an appointment of healthcare representative in place to make sure that if they become unable to give informed consent to their healthcare, that you have the ability to make decisions for them. You can help get them medical care they need, admit them to the hospital, make sure that they have the appropriate doctor, and then consent to certain types of treatment on their behalf as well.
I'm betting that list of documents goes on. Well, to change gears on you for a moment, now, they have been saving, but of course, people live for a long time these days. If they don't have enough money, is a nursing home the only option?
Actually, no. We're very lucky here in Indiana. We have what is known as an age-in-place plan. And even if people do not have funds to privately pay, our Medicaid program can actually help provide care for them. In a home-based setting, we can help bring in home-based care or look at adult daycare while they're still living at home. We can pay for assisted living and even as an end result, nursing home care under the Medicaid program. So there are other options, and we know people want to remain as at home and independent as long as possible. And luckily our Medicaid laws allow us to help facilitate clients' wishes in that area.
They're also worried that if one of them gets sick, the cost of care could end up bankrupting the other person. There's got to be ways to address that, right?
Yes, you're absolutely right. There are a lot of things that are out there about Medicaid, and sometimes you get misinformation. But Medicaid actually has rules in place to make sure that if one of them does need care, we're not impoverishing the other spouse in order to provide for the spouse in need. Under our Medicaid rules, actually, a lot of your aunt and uncle's assets may already be protected. So for example, a home in Indiana is completely exempt. So if one of your aunt or uncle needs care, the one who's staying at home gets to keep the house. They can also keep any other real estate that might be in the name of the spouse who's not in need of care. They also automatically get to keep a car of any value, and currently they can even keep any retirement plans in the name of the spouse not in need of care. And beyond that, they also get to keep 1/2 of any remaining what we call countable resources. And now in 2020, that means they can keep up to 1/2 up to a maximum of $128,640. So a lot of the concerns that people have with regard to protection of assets may be unfounded simply because the law already provides that we do not impoverish one spouse in order to provide for the needs of the other. But we're happy to meet with them and discuss what is and what is not protected in their situation and help craft a plan to best provide for both of their needs going forward.
I really appreciate your time. We'll definitely be following up. Thank you so much.
Great. So nice talking with you, Robbie.